Love seeing all these friends here. Aw, hello everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time zone you're in. We're so happy that you're here with us today. I'm Kelsey Morgan. I'm Everfree's co-founder and CEO, and it's such an honor to have all of you with us today. So many incredible supporters, donors, partners, organizations that we work with. It means the world to us that all of you are here. We have a really exciting lineup with some guest speakers joining us, and we're about to kick things off. So today we are gathered because we are confronting one of the biggest human rights crises facing our world today: human trafficking and exploitation. It's a difficult topic, it's a dark topic, but it is an issue that we can actually solve if we choose to. And that piece gives me so much hope, as does seeing all of you here today who care deeply about the issue, those impacted by it, and finding solutions to develop a world free of exploitation and slavery. It's crazy to me that we live in a world where it's never been easier to buy or sell or exploit a human being. Right now, more than 700 million women and girls are experiencing violence and exploitation at any given moment. That's a really large number. Reflect on it for just a second. It's 1 in 3 women and girls. And behind that statistic, that number, are real people, real human lives at stake. And it's not only those statistics that drive me. And so I want to give you a little insight into why I've done this work for more than 15 years. In a minute, we're going to show you a video clip of a little girl. And just a couple of years ago, I was sitting beside her in our safe home in Uganda. And the older girls in the safe home were performing a song and a dance to A Million Dreams. I don't know if you know it. It's from The Greatest Showman. It's a beautiful song talking about the world that we're going to create. And Krisha May, if you could play the video, I want you to hear this beautiful voice. A million dreams is all it's going to take. It makes me emotional now hearing it. Because this little girl is just one of millions. And she is free. She was rescued at a very, very young age by the police in Uganda. She was taken from her family at around 4 years old, exploited with 9 other girls. And every night they slept in a tiny room where they all had to take turns sharing one single mattress. Her innocence, her childhood, her safety was robbed from her during that time. But because of the generosity of our community, incredible staff members around the world, she joined Everfree's aftercare home. She received safe housing, healthcare, counseling. As you see her there, she's playing ball. She has a doll. She had a safe bed to sleep in. And I'm so happy to share that last December, she graduated from our program, and she's now living with safe, loving family members, a kid again, pursuing her education. And it's the million dreams of all of these girls and women around the world that is what drives me in this work. dreams of a world that's better, dreams of a world where every single child has the freedom to sleep safely, to pursue their education, pursue a future, and build a world where all of us are safe and free. There's a common misconception that when someone exits from human trafficking, they're free, but we know that freedom goes beyond that moment in rescue. It takes extensive healing and resources. And each one of those women and girls, like this little one, deserve a better world. And what gives me hope and my why is that we actually can build one. And today, that's what we're here to talk about and to invite you into. While Sarah, this little girl, we use Sarah as a pseudonym to protect her identity, but while Sarah is in Uganda, this issue is happening everywhere. It's happening in other countries. It's happening in your own community. Just yesterday, there was actually a brothel identified in Irvine, right down the street from where my daughter goes to preschool, where 4 victims were identified. You may have also seen in Everfree's newsletters and social media that 7,000 victims were rescued from a human trafficking scheme in Myanmar. And those from Uganda who were rescued are actually on their way back this week, where our staff will be waiting for them with open arms at the airport and resources and support so that they can rebuild their lives and their communities. This is why we've created our Freedom Life Map technology so that survivors everywhere, including right here in the US, can access the individualized support that they need. We have seen firsthand that the impact of our work goes beyond serving one individual. We have seen time and time again that when we support one woman or one girl, they go on to impact so many lives. And something that's so central to who we are as Everfree is communicating our impact and your impact as our donors and our communities with you. And today we're here to tell stories of this ripple effect, the impact of your donations, not only on individuals in our programs, but on the community and the world at large. We're here to tell stories of how women have gone on to advocate at the national level. Women have gone on to change their communities, and all of that is made possible by the generous support of our community. One example of this is Angel. Angel is a survivor who has gone through our programs in the Philippines. She is pursuing her education in psychology because her dream for a better world is to help children, to be a part of their healing, to take the awfulness that happened to her and to transform it into something beautiful and meaningful, ensuring that other survivors don't go on that journey alone. And this is really the why behind our new campaign, which is launching today, Her Freedom, Our Future. And on the next slide, you'll see a QR code. So if you're watching in on your computer, you can scan that QR code. It will take you to our new campaign that's up for the next month, where we are raising critical resources to support survivors in their educational journeys, in their entrepreneurship journeys, and their journeys to freedom and creating a world where all are free. So feel free to scan this, or we will put the link in the chat. You can follow that to learn more about our campaign, and we'll share more as we go on through this presentation. One other story that I want to share is such a fun one. This is Emily. You may remember her story from our Reclaiming Freedom film that came out last year. I had the honor of spending time with Emily a few months ago in Uganda. And as you can see, Emily is light, she is energy, she is ambition. It's all over her face. And when I last saw her, she was dressed in a 3-piece suit, high heels, pearls in her hair, talking about how her business was booming. She was selling out every single day. Emily went through our Freedom First Institute, where she learned culinary arts, food production, and she launched a bakery with the resources that she got after she successfully pursued justice against her trafficker. She received monetary restitution, opened up a business. And when she was telling me about how her business was thriving, I said, Emily, you have to hire more staff. This is crazy. You're doing so much. And she said, yes, I do. But I'm waiting for the next class of Freedom First Institute graduates because every single staff that I'm going to hire is going to be a survivor of human trafficking. Emily is transforming her community, providing fresh, healthy food and providing jobs so that other women and girls can go on to rebuild their lives. Emily and Angel are incredible examples of how investing in women creates a ripple effect of opportunity. And I'm excited to introduce our first guest speaker, Helen Stiver, to talk about this in greater detail. Helen joined the Everfree team about a year ago, although I told her yesterday, it feels like she's always been a part of the team. She is our US Programs Coordinator and has extensive, almost 2 decades of experience working in the nonprofit sector in the area of disability accessibility. She is a subject matter with lived experience and advocating for human rights policies, resource allocation at the national level. You may have seen some of her articles in the news. You may have seen her advocating. We're so happy to have you here with us, Helen. We're going to talk a little bit together about the significant importance of entrepreneurship for women like Emily and the impact that those opportunities have. So welcome, Helen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Helen, can you kick us off by sharing how economic instability contributes to human trafficking?
Thank you. Um, so, along with many other vulnerabilities, economic vulnerabilities like not having a sufficient job or living in poverty or living in a home where maybe you're a minor and your family doesn't have enough economic stability um, is something that traffickers look for to target. And they look to take advantage of situations like that. Sometimes they um, may mask as employers and they say they're going to provide you a good job, or a job placement. And that's what we're seeing right now. As you mentioned earlier in Myanmar, people were actually going to work what they thought was a legitimate job. In other instances, they may be coerced into sex trafficking as a means to support their family. And that's not just adults, that's many times vulnerable youth and sometimes even children. Um, so we see that not just globally, but we also see that in the United States, that those indicators of savings, lack of savings, household income, and even when they do have money, having difficulty with money management.
Thank you, Helen. So after a survivor exit exploitation, we know that they face major barriers to traditional employment, from legal challenges to gaps in work history. How have you seen entrepreneurship create opportunities for survivors to rebuild their lives?
Thank you. That's a great question. And speaking from personal experience, I can honestly say leaving my trafficker, and it was many, many years ago, as many of you know who've met me before, I was leaving a stable home. I was leaving, the place that I was living. I didn't have anywhere to stay. I didn't have uh, a job history, right? So it was really difficult to find employment. I didn't have education, and in my case, and in many others, through my victimization, I do have like some criminal activity as a result, and so those are like barriers that just make it difficult to move forward. So with those things in mind, many programs are starting to incorporate entrepreneurship as part of um, bringing people from that victim to survivor and survivor to thriver, on that journey, because they have that sense of, autonomy. They have that freedom to, maybe choose their own hours. They don't have to worry about explaining those gaps in job history. Like you saw with Emily, not only was she empowered to have that business for herself, but she's paying it forward and she's going to hire other survivors. As some of you also know, I have a very small artisan jewelry business, and part of that business, I established an initiative. And in that initiative, I fund other survivor entrepreneurs who are just starting their journey, helping them with things like obtaining a business license. This are all expenses. So it's just that sense of um, empowerment, uh, without having to worry about, some of those other gaps that they've had. And I work here in the US with programs in the United States. That's part of my job. And survivors identify within that freedom life map that we've been talking about. They identify that education, employment, finances, those are the top three issues that they want to address as they recover and move on in their life. Thank you.
Helen, you raised such an important point that I think often is overlooked, that you said when you were being exploited, stability. You had a place to live. And for those of us working to support people when they leave exploitation, we have to ensure that that support creates stability, that we're not creating a situation that is perpetuating cycles of vulnerability. And thank you for sharing with us about your entrepreneurship. I'm wearing earrings that Helen created. They're my favorite. Beyond the financial stability that entrepreneurship offers, how does it help reclaim a sense of freedom and purpose?
In my case, it was not just, like you said, the economic stability. It was, helping to pay for things that I didn't have that extra money for. But it was also just a sense of self-esteem, in creating something that someone else will pay their hard-earned money for, whether it be jewelry or whether it be baked goods. These are not essentials. But when somebody, comes and shops with us as an entrepreneur, that just raises your sense of self-worth and your self-esteem. Also, we have the autonomy to make those choices. And that's something that was taken away from us during our trafficking experience. And again, I just want to reiterate, with Freedom Life Map, that's where that autonomy starts, by assessing your own needs and being able to determine where you want to go on your path. So um, as I've told Kelsey many times, that's one of the reasons why I chose to switch, careers late in life, is because I was very impressed by how we're moving forward in the progression of victim to survivor to thriving and being self-sustaining. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Helen, for being with us today. We do have a Q&A in this virtual event, so if you have questions, feel free to pop them in there, and our team is happy to respond to those questions. Helen talked about the data that our organization receives through Freedom Life Map, and how what we're learning is that survivors' main areas of vulnerability and where they're asking for support are in the areas of income, money management, and education, skills for getting a job. And next up, we have an incredible guest joining us to speak to the importance of empowering women through educational opportunities and mentorship. We have Jennifer Schwab, founder and CEO of Entity Academy. Since launching Entity in 2016, Jen has been a forceful driver for empowering women through education. Jen, we're so happy that you're here with us today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, and really appreciate your story, Helen. It's touching, and I've got to admit, I've met Everfree at a University of California Irvine event, and that's where I pursued my master's. And my mentor was so impressed with Kelsey, and Richard Matthew. He's exposed to a ton of viable nonprofits that are very efficient, but he spoke so highly of Kelsey and Everfree and the team there that I knew I had to get involved. So thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure. And I would like to contribute financially as well, because I'm so pleased with the mission and your execution. So thank you.
Thank you, Jen. That means the world to us. And yes, Richard is an incredible advocate and incredible human. Your work is all about equipping women with tools to transform their futures. We see this in our work as well, that mentorship, education is a key that unlocks incredible futures, especially for women and girls. What first inspired you to dedicate your career to this mission?
Well, you know, it's funny. I have always looked at education as the great leveler in society. And my parents, I come by it honestly. My parents are academics. I was adopted at 3 months old and hustled off to Fayetteville, Arkansas. And that was definitely an interesting exercise, living in the deep South in the late 70s, early 80s, and being Indian, but being from a white family, because I was adopted by a white family. And I found that education was my key to really make a name for myself in business, but also to really always be on a constant learning curve. And I saw the results just with myself, because by definition, I really started out behind the line of scrimmage.
Oh, that's beautiful, Jen. And it's so true that education is a great equalizer. And the opportunities are so powerful. We see this, how that education unlocks so many doors. We had 2 survivors just this last year who they wanted to pursue a career in law. They wanted to become prosecutors and victim advocates, and they worked so hard in school and through our programs that they got full ride government scholarships to law school. And I cannot wait to see the impact that these young women have on their communities and on their countries. Just so powerful. And from your experience, what are the most powerful shifts that you see in women when they get the right skills and have the right opportunities?
Well, number one, it's a confidence builder. So they're out of the gate from pursuing education. They're much more confident in their personal skill set, because you can't take skills away from anyone. That's the thing that I love about it. You learn a skill, it's like teaching someone to fish. You can't take it away. So confidence building. Secondary, closing the wage gap. That's been our raison d'etre for years at Entity. And when you start to see the impact of having resources and being financially independent, that also gives a sense of agency to women. And so through all of those measures, you're incredibly empowered. And I always say one success begets another. So it's almost like the good type of addiction that you're like, okay, I got a bachelor's degree. Now I can get a master's degree. I got a master's degree. Now maybe I'll go on and do something else and gain new skills. And like for me, one of the skills I learned after my bachelor's degree was I'm going to go become a pilot, not as an occupation, but as a hobby, because I felt like I could do anything. And that's where we really can make an impact on women.
Oh, it's so true. We've also seen in the data that we get from our Freedom Life Map that self-esteem, self-confidence are areas that survivors are prioritizing on their healing journey. And there's such a link between providing opportunities to overcome barriers and to find success, how that builds up our self-esteem and our self-confidence. What are some other ways, Jen, that we can create more opportunities for women to build independent, fulfilling careers?
Well, the more education, the better. So right in line with that, and being current and relevant in your education is also big. Like everybody knows AI is taking the world by storm. Encouraging women to get ahead of that movement is a big deal. We do not want to end up sitting back on our heels the way software developers really took off, and it's a male dominated field for so many years. We want to be ahead of that curve. So that's one way that I think we can really accelerate women. I'm sorry it's so loud here. I actually am I'm in Dallas on a work engagement and my flight was late. So I'm so sorry it's loud here.
It's all right, Jen. It's all right. Thank you so much for being with us today and for all the work that you do. We see also just how important mentorship and empowering women and girls with education is. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you both, Helen and Jennifer. It's been so incredible to have you here with us. We're going to now talk a little bit more about the Her Freedom, Our Future campaign. And I love this quote from another survivor leader in Everfree's program. Her call to action is much more powerful than my call to action could ever be. She's calling on everyone to fight and stop human trafficking. I love how she says, you can't know what freedom means until you lose it. So if you gain it, you treasure it. And Her Freedom, Our Future campaign invites you to support women and girls both in the US and around the world through our programs so that they can go on to be leaders in their communities, in their families, in the world, having ripple effects. When you support one individual through Everfree, your impact goes on to support many, many others. And I'm getting notes from the team. Oh my goodness, we have donations coming in. It's absolutely incredible. We're up to over $24,000 raised towards our campaign. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. We're only 27 minutes into the campaign. I'm blown away. Today, we are inviting all of you to donate and spread the word for this campaign to be the reason another girl finds freedom, another girl finds education, another young woman starts her business and is able to employ other survivors. I believe we have a link in the chat that will take you to our campaign where you can see more ways to get involved. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what these different donation amounts do and the ripple effect that they have. First of all, you can scan here if you would like to be taken to that, or you can click, I believe Krisha May has put this in the chat for you to click on, but there's that QR code there that will take you to our campaign page where you can learn more. But let's go back and see what those donation amounts do, what your impact will be as you give different gifts. And oh my goodness, Jen just donated $1,500. Jen, thank you. That's absolutely incredible. Krisha May, let's go back to the last screen so she can see what that impact does. That provides so much empowerment and opportunities for girls in our program. Thank you. Thank you so much. $100 donation supports restorative mental health care services for survivors. The ripple effect of that $100 is that survivors heal from what they've been through, have that as support to rebuild their lives, and then go on to break cycles of trauma, creating safer, healthier communities and families. The next donation amount is $250. This allows survivors to access critical life-saving healthcare services and products, keeping them in school, allowing them to stay in school, empowering women in their careers, and removing barriers to participating in the economy. $1,000 provides 100 nights of safe shelter and care. This ripple effect is that survivors regain stability, breaking cycles of homelessness and vulnerability. The education pillar of this campaign, $5,000, ensures that 10 survivors receive educational scholarships. We just talked about the impact of education. Girls go on to go be lawyers pursuing justice against traffickers. They go on to start businesses, to go on to be psychologists supporting survivors in mental health. It's absolutely incredible what these resources do. And it's so timely. We are providing these resources as we speak. As I shared, our team is preparing to meet survivors from Uganda who were trafficked to Myanmar. They will be there waiting for them at the airport. They will take them back to our programs, help them identify what their greatest needs are, what their strengths are, and connect them to not only life-saving resources, but resources to rebuild their lives and to go on to transform their communities. All of this work is possible because of our community. And I could truly just cry looking at the names we have in this chat. Incredible people who have been supporting Everfree for years and years, not only with their finances, but with opening up their communities, making sure that their work, their support has ripple effects within their communities. People who have opened up their homes, opened up their companies, advocating for corporate sponsorship. You will be getting an email right after this that will share more about this campaign, whether you can donate directly or whether you can share this campaign. We have opportunities for you to crowdsource fundraise yourself. If you've heard this and been inspired and you want to take this to your community, you'll get that email. You'll learn how you can get involved. Our goal is to raise $200,000. And I've just received word that we have a donor who's going to give $25,000 to be matched. So the next $25,000 that come in are going to be matched dollar for dollar, so your impact will be doubled. We're super grateful that you decided to spend your valuable resource of time with us this afternoon. We're super grateful for you. We've already reached $48,000, $48,510 in the past 30 minutes. Thank you, thank you. Your support means the world to us. This is an issue that can be solved, and I'm so grateful that all of us on this call are choosing to do so. Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your day.